Hi, I'm Andrew Moriarty, Senior Pricing Analyst here at Mintec, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of what's happened in the coffee market over the last couple of weeks since we last spoke. Now, I've always kind of criticized coffee as having been, a little bit uninteresting and not having an awful lot to say from video to video. Well, that's not really the case this time. As I'm sure you're aware, we've seen both New York and London rocket to about kind of 4 or 5 month highs. So New York itself is up about 17% since June, and we've seen London up about 20% since July. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this might have happened, and speaking to people in the trade, they've given a lot of different explanations. So the first one that I'm hearing a lot of is that the US dollar has weakened against the Brazilian real. Well, not hugely. If you still look at where the exchange rate is now, it's still well above 5.2, which is historically not particularly good for that current pair. So that really doesn't seem like that's necessarily what's been driving this. Also been hearing a lot about supply tightness, particularly in Robusta and particularly out of Vietnam. And we know that in general, stocks tend to be quite tight right now. We've seen it reflected in the diffs, we've seen premiums nearly double where they were last year, and we're seeing the same thing in Vietnam. So for example, if I were to use like the Vietnamese grade 2 Robusta as a kind of benchmark, where we might have seen $150 last year, we're seeing well in excess of $300 this year, in some cases as high as $370. And there's been a couple of other reasons kind of thrown out there. One is the fact that potentially Robusta consumption has increased since lockdown began. You tend to see more Robusta inclusions in things like espresso pods or instant coffee. And whilst that might sort of maybe be true, and we do, speaking to people in the trade, it does seem like that amount of Robusta has increased in in-home consumption. It has been that way for quite some time now. Generally speaking, we've been having these kind of same conversations for about sort of 5 months now, and I think most of that is kind of settled knowledge. Now, the other thing that I think we need to reflect on, though, is what's happened with the commitment of traders. So if you look at, for example, New York, and where that's gone over the last couple of weeks, for example, we saw in the commitment of traders report released just last week that managed money had actually trimmed their net short positions by about 16,000 lots, and are only about 6,000 lots net short right now. Now, why did that happen? Well, it seems like we were dragging along the bottom of most technical indicators for a while now. There was a bit of profit taking, and then here we are right now looking at September 20 in New York at around 117, 118 cents per pound. Now, the next big sort of resistance level is going to be around kind of 120, 121 on the nearby. So if we see ourselves break through that, then yes, perhaps we might be in sort of consolidating well into kind of a bullish run. But that's kind of what we're looking towards as the next target. And again, as I said, the commitment of traders shows us being relatively neutral right now. Only 6,000 lots net short. Now, the other little bit of news that we've seen over the last couple of weeks is that Honduran exports were down about 17% year on year in July. Now, that's balanced out by the fact that Costa Rica and Uganda have had a pretty substantial improvement in their exports. But that's at least something that's worth mentioning out there as well, especially if you're looking at those origins. And then finally, I wanted to remind everybody about the coffee survey that's still out there. I'll be closing that this Friday. So this coming Friday, that will be closed. So if you haven't received a link and you'd like one, feel free to get in touch with me. The email you can use is pricing@mintecglobal.com, and I'm happy to send that out, and I'd like to thank everyone for the responses if you've already sent them in. So that looks like that's it for this week. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at the number below or at pricing@mintecglobal.com. Thank you very much.